cannot believe I'm making this video already. I feel like this year just flew by. But last year on Bookstagram, I made this template of 24 books that I wanted to read in 2024. I completed it, but I figured why not do the same thing for 2025. So I have 25 books that I want to talk about in this video, and I'm going to break it up into 3 parts, starting with the new releases next year. I would consider these my most anticipated, and I have 14 books, so more than half of my goal for next year is new releases. First book is Onyx Storm by Rebecca Yarros. I really enjoyed Fourth Wing and Iron Flame. I know it's not everyone's cup of tea. Even if the writing isn't the best quality, I think it's entertaining and I'm excited to continue the series, especially the way Iron Flame ended. I'm ready to know what's going to happen in Onyx Storm. This comes out on January 21st, and I am going to the midnight release party with a friend here in Colorado Springs. The second book is Deepened by Ali Hazelwood. This releases on February 4th, and I will say this about many authors, but anything she publishes or writes, I will read. You guys know I don't read summaries very often, but for this video, I did my best, as best I could. It's about Lucas and Scarlett, who are both college athletes and they swim. And I'm hoping for check and mate vibes. Like, I feel like Ali Hazelwood, her characters are very similar, like all of them. But I remember in Check and Mate, they were distinctly like different than what all of her other books were. I just know that this book, Deepened, is an adult book where Check and Mate is considered young adult. So I hope it's a more adult version of Check and Mate. The next book is Scythe and Sparrow. It releases on February 11th. This is book 3 in the Ruinous Love trilogy. Rose is her main female character, and she's a circus motorcyclist who meets Fionn, the third brother. I could be saying his name wrong. He's the third brother in this series. So very excited to continue. I'm in love with these humorous dark romances. It's dark romance. They do really messed up things, but they're so goofy and they're so fun and the banter is always so good. The Charlie Method by Elle Kennedy comes out on February 25th. This includes Will and Beckett. And if you read The Graham Effect and The Dixon Rule, the other books in this series, you know that this is gonna be her spiciest book. And I said that about The Dixon Rule. I was like, this is by far her spiciest book that I've read, and I know for a fact that The Charlie Method is gonna be even more so because of the dynamic between Will, Beckett, and Charlotte. So it is different than what we've gotten from Elle Kennedy, but I'm very interested because it's not the way that I would live my life, but I'm interested to see how Elle Kennedy is going to play it out in the long run. Like, is this gonna be a long-term relationship between 3 people? Or is it gonna be between 2 people and one little like fun side kinky thing? You know, I don't know. But it is a hockey romance, and we've gotten hints of Will and Beckett in the other books, and they are so fun. They are the light of this friend group, and I'm very excited to see these 3 mingle and again, see how Elle Kennedy kind of plays it out. Fifth book is Fearless by Lauren Roberts. This releases on April 1st, and April 1st is a big release day. There's 2 or 3 books that I'm really looking forward to on April 1st, so I'm gonna be so busy in April. I'm gonna be so busy, but this is just a continuation of Kai and Peyton. It's book 3 in the Powerless series. I personally loved book 2 because it was such a developmental book for Kai and Peyton. Like, the character development was huge in that and the relationship development. So I'm very interested to see how the plot continues since the last book was so character driven. Also on April 1st is Say You'll Remember Me by Abby Jimenez. Just for the Summer is definitely a top book for me this year. I don't think it's a part of her like interconnected series. At least on Goodreads it didn't say it was, but I'm interested to see if this is like a new start to another series. This is about Xavier and Samantha, and I'm pretty sure every Abby Jimenez book has a meet cute, like they meet in a really interesting way. They go on a date together and it goes really, really well, but Samantha's not in the right mindset or is dealing with some family stuff to commit to a relationship. A few months passed and they cannot stop thinking of that date. Great Big Beautiful Life by Emily Henry releases on April 22nd. I'm a little nervous for this one. I will read it because it's Emily Henry and I've read every single one of her books, but I have not loved, besides People We Meet on Vacation, I've not really loved the rest of her books, and I know that's very controversial. I do want to reread her other books at some point because I didn't see the hype and I want to. So Alice is a really small town writer and Hayden is a really popular Nobel Prize winning author, and this famous old lady calls them both to her hometown and is like, y'all are gonna write my story and I'll pick the winner. Alice and Hayden will have to work together to kind of fit the pieces of this woman's life together. Very, very excited for it, even if I haven't had the best track record with Emily Henry. Rewind It Back by Liz Tom Ford. This releases on April 24th. It is Rio and Hallie's story, and Rio has shown up in all of Liz Tom Ford's books. He's a goofball. He's really, really funny. I'm pretty sure he's a younger character in the series. Like, everyone always he's like the younger brother on the team. I love this series, so any book that she writes, again, I will read. The Night and the Moth by Rachel Gillig. This releases on May 20th. This is the start of a new series for her, and it's an adult gothic romantasy. That sounds incredible. Like, that combo, that sounds right up my alley. The 10th book is Sounds Like Love by Ashley Poston. This releases on June 17th, and of course, there's magical realism in it. I just know that the quotes are gonna be great. Joni Lark, she's a songwriter in LA and moves back to her hometown after dealing with some severe writer's block, and so she moves back to kind of get some motivation, and there's a melody that gets stuck in her head. This is where that cool, like, magical realism comes into play. A melody gets stuck in her head, but it's in a man's voice, and all of a sudden this man, she hears his voice in her small town and she's like, wait a second, and it goes from there. So I don't think I described that great. On July 3rd, Rose in Chains by Julie Soto releases, and I know that this is a Hermione fan fiction picked up by a publisher, so she is changing all of the names and probably a few details in there. It's a romantasy. I know it's going to be a trilogy, and it's based off Hermione and Draco. Like, I'm gonna love it. I'm gonna soak it up. I did not read The Auction, which is the fan fiction version, but that's okay. I can just pretend in my head that Rose in Chains, it's gonna be Hermione and Draco. Like, I can just pretend. Not Quite Dead Yet by Holly Jackson releases on July 22nd, and it's an adult mystery thriller. So I'm very excited because I've only read, and I'm pretty sure she's only written young adult, the reappearance of Rachel Price, and then the A Good Girl's Guide to Murder trilogy. So I'm very interested to see what she does in an adult mystery thriller. Like, how dark is it gonna get? What are we gonna get, if any, romance? I do feel like July is a weird time for a mystery thriller to release though. Like, I wish it was like September, October, but maybe I'll read it in the fall. The Ballad of Falling Dragons by Sarah A. Parker. This is book 2 in the Moonfall series, so When the Moon Hatched is the first book. I read that book, I gave it 3.5 stars. I did enjoy it enough to continue the series, but I think this book, the second book, will kind of be the determining factor if I continue on reading the rest of the books. It releases on October 7th, so a little later in the year, but still really excited to continue this series between con and rave. So, and the last and final new release that I am so excited for, Burn of the Everflame by Penn Cole. You guys know this year I read Spark of the Everflame, and I'm waiting with bated breath for this 4th book, but Penn Cole, no pressure. Girl, I love you. She doesn't have a release date yet, and that's totally fine. Whenever this releases next year, immediately we'll download it on my Kindle and read it. Now we're gonna get into my physical TBR books that I have on my cart that I really just want to read. Like, I just want to get them off of my cart, or I'm doing them for videos, or I just want to read them next year. So, The Dawn of the Cursed Queen by Amber Nicole. This is book 3 in the Book of Azrael series, and I adored the first 2 books. Very excited for the 3rd, and the 4th just happens to release in 2025. So I need to read book 3 before the 4th one releases. Probably time it right to where I read the 3rd book when the 4th is about to release, so then I can kind of read it back to back. I said I didn't own that book, and this is the physical TBR category, so I don't know why I included that, but we're gonna start, okay? The Hunger Games. I did read the full Hunger Games series in middle school as they were coming out. So I have read this. I've watched the movies also a million times. Like, I know what to expect. But I wanted to film a whole reading vlog because there's a new Hunger Games book coming out. I believe that book releases in March, and it's called this. I don't know what it's called, but I know that this is book 0.5. So there's like a book 0, there's a book 0.5 that's releasing in March, then there's 1, 2, 3. So I'll probably just end up reading this whole series, which I'm excited about because I haven't read these since middle school and I probably don't remember as much as I think I do. So the next book on my physical TBR that I want to read is Flock because I've heard so much about it. Now, I do have a friend who just read this, and I don't think she loved it. This is one of the top 5 books that people have recommended to me. They're like, you need to read this. I heard that there's one specific scene that people go crazy for, and if you've read it, you probably know what I'm talking about because I've heard about it, but I think mainly I just want people to stop recommending it to me. So I just need to read it. I'm gonna force myself next year. Okay, the next book is going to be The Queen of the Tierling. A lot of these books I did talk about in my birthday wrap-up, so I'm going to keep this short. I don't know why this is really on this list. I think it's just, again, it's on my physical TBR, and I was looking at it while creating this 25 in 2025, and I was like, just throw it on there, because I need to read it. I'm kind of in a young adult mood the past few months, so maybe picking this up in 2025 will be a good thing. And I'll love it and I'll recommend it to you guys. So the next book is The Naturals. Again, just been sitting on my TBR card. I really, really want to read it. I've heard great things about this series and it's just kind of been sitting there. I've picked it up twice and almost read it and then didn't. So I think I just want to like get it off my card. And the next book is Normal People by Sally Rooney, which I actually might read this year because I'm traveling back to Virginia for the holidays, and this one is just so small and compact that it might be my plane read, and then in that case I might just take it off my 2025 list and add a new book for my TBR card. I don't know, but this is on that list. Might read it this year. I don't know. You can be my friend on Goodreads and see if I end up reading this in December or next year. Now for the fun, scary category. I'm calling these my challenge books, and I'm a little nervous. I'm not going to read them until like November of next year because I'm just going to keep putting them off. Like I'm just never going to get to them because I want to read them. I do. But there's a block in my brain when I like go to pick one up. I'm like, not yet. Not yet. The first one being book 2 in the Farseer trilogy. I loved the first book. I did really enjoy it. I just think this style fantasy I need to grow to love. I don't think I'm going to love it right off the bat. And this one I'm nervous for. It's thicker than the last book, but this is just continuing Fitz's journey and what he's going through in his life. It's very slow building, but I am expecting some more stuff to happen in this one than the first one. The first one was great. Stuff did happen, but I want more action. Like that's what I'm hoping for in these fantasy books. So I'm really excited to see and continue this series and get back into this world. Then we have a really fun one that I plan to read in January, Outlander. I watched the TV show up until like season 5. I think there's 6 or 7 seasons. I don't remember. I stopped at a certain point and I won't say why because I'm pretty sure that's a big spoiler. Excited. I know this is also going to be very detailed and slow and pretty writing. It's not going to be my typical fast-paced romantasy that I'm used to. Currently, I just started my reread of Discovery Witches by Deborah Harkness today, and I want it to be like that. Like I want it to be super in-depth and not a lot of dialogue. Like I'm hoping that that's what this is. I kind of want that in my January TBR. I want something that's going to take me a while, that I can't binge read in a weekend. Like I want this to last a while. Then I have the scariest book of all, The Way of Kings by Brandon Sanderson. Tears running down my face. I'm terrified to read this book. I do not think I can get by with just reading. I think I'm gonna have to get the audiobook. I do not think I can tackle this book alone. And it's again that mental block. I know I can read it. I know how to read. I know I can read it. It's just, do I want to commit? I mean, there's pictures in here for people like me. So the next one is The Blade Itself by Joe Abercrombie. This one, again, when you create a book list like this, like 25 books you want to read in 2025, you get to a point where you're just like, what can I just throw on there? This one I kind of just threw on there. I bought it for my birthday book haul. Again, this is more like a challenge book. Like I don't really have the urge or itch to ever read this, but I'm making myself next year because I think I'll like it. I just have to like go to pick it up, you know? Then I have this book, which I actually DNF'd because, and let me explain, Illuminate. I started the audiobook of this and I was like, man, I just know that the visuals are so great in this book. Like it's such a cool book, and I DNF'd it because I knew I would want to physically read it. I didn't want to listen to it. So I listened to the first like hour and a half of it and then was like, okay, let me pause because I mean, there's just so many illustrations in this. Like the text is just so unique. It's more like textbook typing, emails back and forth. Like it's unique. And I don't want to waste an audiobook on that. Like I want to physically read this one. I just want to read it. So I'm going to. I know this is a really popular book. People love it and I'm excited for it because I did like the hour and a half that I listen to. I just want to physically see what I'm listening to. All right, this scares me. That's a tower. Those are my 25 books that I want to read in 2025. I'm really excited for this list. I feel like my 2024 list was good, but this one is great. Like, some of these books I put on there very last minute, kind of just, what can I throw on this list because I want to make a list. Where this one, I really thought it through, and I know that I'm gonna really enjoy these books. Very excited for next year. So please comment down below what books are on your TBR for next year. If any of these are, let me know. Maybe we can buddy read together. I'm all for buddy reading. Follow me on Bookstagram. My Goodreads is linked down below. Like this video, subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.